Thank you for joining us on an episode here of Ask a Historian. I'm Matthew Wilkinson, historian with Heritage Mississauga. Keep sending in your questions and we'll explore the fascinating stories of the city of Mississauga together. Like, subscribe, and follow us and stay up to date on all the heritage happenings with Heritage Mississauga. Joining us this week is Megan Wiles, who is the coordinator for exhibitions and outreach at the Museums of Mississauga, and we are going to explore a brand new exhibit just opened up at the museums called "What Is Love?" So, thank you, Megan, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure to chat, Matthew.
Wonderful. So I did have an opportunity, and this is a shout out to anyone joining the program, is go see the exhibit. So I did have a chance to go and see the exhibit myself, and first of all, what a wonderful thing just to walk back in the doors of the Anchorage at the Bradley Museum, and not only see colleagues and friends, but to see an actual exhibit in person was wonderful.
I know it's been too long.
Yeah, it's been too long.
Yeah.
So can you tell us just the what is love exhibit? And I should say there's a question mark on the end of what is love, so it's part of the exploration of the exhibit. But can you tell us about how the what is love exhibit came to be and what kind of the genesis of the idea?
Yeah, absolutely. So just a little background on the exhibition project. So this is a project that was curated by 4 graduate students at the Master of Museum Studies program at the University of Toronto. So this is the second year that the Museums of Mississauga have worked with the program. We call it MMST for short. So I'll probably use that acronym a few times throughout this. Bit of a mouthful to say, Master of Museum Studies. Anyhow, we work with the students, and we did this last year as well. You might remember the Hair Stories exhibition that was also curated by grad students from that program. So in the final year of the 2-year graduate program, the students get to create an exhibition project at a recognized museum institution. I actually graduated from this program myself as well, many years ago now, but I do remember the exhibition project being one of the most exciting and valuable parts of my entire graduate degree. So the students, they curate the exhibition from concept through to the installation. So they have a hand in every single phase of the exhibition development process. The museums, we're here as resources. We're here to support and facilitate the development of the exhibit, but it really is curated by these graduate students. So we kind of provide the concept. We give some general project deliverables and a general schedule. And again, the students, they kind of take it from there, and they also work along with their course and program directors in the program to develop this exhibition that we have. So our students, their names, there are 4 of them. They're lovely, powerful, young emerging professionals: Annabelle Kolomiski, Megan Mahone, Meg Sonderlin, and Louisa Simmons. They're just absolute superstars, just full of creativity and just that fresh, raw energy that you get from emerging graduates. And the topic of love, it was actually something that was cooked up many years ago by Tracy Oliveira, who is the Museums of Mississauga collections assistant. She wanted to explore love stories in Mississauga. Matthew, you probably know that we have an amazing collection of wedding dresses at the Museums of Mississauga. And we also have a lot of love-inspired items as well. So she wanted to showcase some of those artifacts and the stories of the people behind them. So we gave the students this concept. We want to explore love stories in Mississauga. But in addition to those artifacts from our collection, we also wanted to explore contemporary stories from residents who live here today. Yeah, so I'll talk maybe about the community engagement project for this exhibit a little bit later, but just to comment a little more on the University of Toronto partnership. It is something that the museums were hoping to do for many years to come annually. So you will see a graduate student exhibit project at the museums every spring. And actually, a fun topic we have cooked up for next year is exploring the question, what is Canadian food?
Okay.
Yes, so please do join us. We hope to have food-related programming. But
I liked your segue there. You said cooked up, so we'll
hey, it's just so natural too, just organic. But
wonderful ideas.
yeah, really exciting ideas. And just working with emerging professionals is something that we hold really dearly at the Museums of Mississauga. We understand that there are not a whole lot of opportunities for students to get hands-on experience in exhibition development in all of the different areas. So this is really a portfolio and resume builder for those emerging graduates to allow them to gain careers in their field upon graduation. So they get to do every aspect of the project, from the project management. They get to conduct community engagement, use design software to curate graphics. They do schematic design, so they determine the size, quantity, material, layout, floor plan, printing, collections management. They do it all. So it really is a wonderful opportunity for those students, but also for us to kind of give back to our own field and support where we can.
I was just going to say, what a wonderful way to give back, but also to embrace new ideas and new energy. Yes. and that sort of thing. So yeah, no, win-win, right? It's
win-win. Yeah, it's so fun.
So the exhibit itself showcases several themes around different concepts of love, and I will admit it blew me away in terms of how you thought about it, or how the students thought about it and processed that concept of what is love. But can you explain how the different themes or concepts of love evolved in relation to the exhibit itself? Because you throw out the name "What is Love" and you immediately think,
yes,
relationships and that sort of thing. But there are different stories here.
Yeah, I am totally with you, Matthew. It was not what I had anticipated either. Mine went to romantic couple relationships as well, but that is not what we're presenting. There are, of course, those romantic relationships presented in the exhibition, but a lot of the theme behind the exhibit is the kind of love overcoming adversity and difficult kind of moments. And really what drove this theme was the community engagement that the students did as a part of the exhibit development process. So they reached out to members of our community to participate and contribute to the stories featured in the exhibit. And through those interviews, they found that love was interpreted in many, many different forms. They interviewed about 20 residents in total to capture their stories. And they found that a lot of the stories had moments where, again, people were overcoming challenges or adversity or finding something positive as a result of love. And not just love with a partner, but love between family members, between friends, pets, places, and spaces. So they really took a new spin on this kind of concept of what is love. There were 4 main themes that they delved a little bit deeper in throughout the exhibit as well that came from these interviews. And I'll just briefly mention a few of them. But the first is care. So really kind of trying to figure out, how is love established? Another theme was resilience. So you see that a lot in the exhibition. So how does love carry people through difficult times and discrimination and periods of change? They also had trust. So this is a really big one. What does love show us about ourselves and our vulnerabilities when we open ourselves up to another person and trust them? And then the last theme I'll mention was belonging. So how does that combination of care, resilience, and trust lead to a sense of belonging? So those themes, they do drive the exhibition and content and design rather, and you'll see those stories and those themes reflected throughout the show.
And that idea of belonging really strikes to the core of a community, right? Like the idea of love as a building block is really plays out well in the exhibit. And again, it's probably like you, I went in with that idea of love stories of people, right?
Yes.
So it's,
yes.
And they, like you said, they are there, and but really a neat exploration. So you mentioned that there was a collection process in which they engaged with residents to organize their content or the information they gathered for the exhibit, but you entwine contemporary with historic, with, you know, just the interpretation of say different themes along this idea of the love lens, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
How was the collection process, the collation process to make this a coherent exhibit? What was the process for gathering all this material?
Yeah, so for the contemporary stories, it was during COVID sort of lockdown. So we were kind of supposed to do, or we were doing everything online. So we did a simple Google survey form with some standard questions. You know, where's your favorite date spot? How do you feel about love? So some really kind of easier questions. And then there was also an option to sign up to do an interview if you wanted to kind of talk further with the students and be more involved in the exhibition development process. So the students interviewed, I think, about 20 residents from Mississauga. They spent about an hour, hour and a half with each of those folks and worked with them to make sure that the stories that they were later writing for the actual exhibition panels reflected the way that those community members wanted their stories to be presented. So they did spend a ton of time working with individual community members and kind of doing the work. And it was amazing the kind of stories that we received from the public. People were incredibly trusting and generous with sharing very personal and sometimes difficult stories. And we just really couldn't believe the responses from those community members who participated. And we're just so grateful to these folks for willing to share with us and put their lives and very intimate stories on display in a public museum. So
Right.
all of those interviews rather were conducted by the graduate curators. And yeah, you'll see those contemporary stories kind of scattered throughout the exhibition. And we also integrated stories that were from our collection. So some of the more historic characters from Mississauga's past to kind of juxtapose between the more contemporary pieces.
So one of the fascinating things is how you weave them together. I mean, I don't know that there's a proper route that you go through, but I mean, we started with contemporary stories, and then right around the corner, there's a stunning historic wedding dress, one of my favorite artifacts at the museum to see. And, you know, and then it plays on a story of how that wedding dress got worn by the granddaughter at a party at New Year's. and how these, like, it's just a fascinating look, but then you weave in stories of contemporary people with, you know, significant people are past, like Peter Jones, or Reverend Peter Jones, Kekeke Kwanabai from the Mississaugas, indigenous Mississaugas, but how they reflect on their community and their relationships with each other and stuff. And I just thought it was fascinating, fascinating look. So how important is it from a museum perspective to kind of weave those stories together, not only the historic ones, but the kind of combining the past and the present, not only within the exhibit, but also kind of just the way the museums connects to residents today? Like, can you explain that mentality, I guess?
Yeah, that's such an important question, Matthew. I mean, we have so many amazing and special stories and artifacts that belong to the residents of Mississauga's past that are just in our collection. And we're really lucky to have these stories, but these stories might not necessarily reflect the residents who actually live here today. And a big part of what we're trying to do at the Museums of Mississauga is to be relevant. I mean, we want to make sure that the stories that we're presenting actually reflect and resonate with the community members that we serve here today. So while we always want to share history and tell stories from our past, we also want to talk about stories from today, because that matters too. Museums are not just a space to talk about the past. We're a space for a dialogue. We're a space where you can confront challenging histories and truths, and really a space for the community to come together and to just celebrate what makes our city and our people here so special. So again, we'll always showcase historical stories and collections, but we want to layer that with contemporary and modern stories of the folks who live here today.
And what a valuable role, I think, for museums as we go forward in this world today, of being places of conversation. You know, they're just opening the doors to having those bigger conversations in an environment that can be I guess relaxing and comforting and safe and
Yes.
in the case of an exhibit like this, lighthearted too. Like just
So
yeah,
lighthearted, which is what we need right now, I
yeah,
think.
yeah,
Yeah, there are some certainly challenging stories that we move through in the
yeah.
exhibition, but at the end of the day, it really is uplifting, and it is about us all kind of coming together and overcoming something, which kind of sums up the past couple of years, hasn't it? So
Well, you think of the things that unite us as as humans,
yeah,
around the world, and those concepts of love and belonging, and of
yeah,
caring for each other, caring for the place you live and the world around you. Like, those are universal things, and
yes.
what a way to connect to history and to contemporary world, through things that have always united and defined people, and
You're so
uh,
right.
yeah,
Mhm.
remarkable. So the exhibit itself, can you tell us how long it runs and how people can connect with the exhibit?
Absolutely. So the exhibition, it actually just opened, I think last week, wasn't it? It
Yep.
feels so
Yep.
long ago. But it is open at the Bradley Museum every Thursday through Sunday between 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. You're welcome to just drop by. Admission to all of the museums in Mississauga is free. If you also want to have a guided tour of the Bradley House, feel free to drop by on the hour every hour from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., or you can pre-book online on our Museums of Mississauga Eventbrite page. The exhibit is open until June 26th, so please do drop by before then. There's so many cool things to see, cool graphics, really fun interactives, and like Matthew said, it's a very lighthearted and kind of fun experience.
And you can send a love note to somebody as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah, you can, which is
uh,
very, very sweet.
wonderful, and so just kudos to not only you and the museums of Mississauga, but to the four students who led the
Yes.
project, and
Yes.
what a great way to welcome people back in person to our spaces, and
Yes,
um,
finally.
yeah, and share something that brings a smile too. So it's like you said, there are some difficult stories there,
Mhm.
and there's stories that welcome a deeper dive into to other
Yeah.
contexts as well. But there are themes here that unite us all, and I think that's a wonderful thing to do. So thank you very much for sharing this with us.
Thank you, Matthew. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you for spending some time with us here on Ask a Historian. And again, keep sending in your questions, and we'll bring Megan back on down the road for another program. So you have questions for Megan too. We'll bring those up. But join us each and every week here at Ask a Historian, and we'll explore different stories that connect to us here as residents of the city of Mississauga and the history of this place. And like, subscribe, and follow us, and we will stay up to date on all the heritage happenings. And with that, thank you once again to Megan for joining us here, and all the best to the Museums of Mississauga during what is Museums Month. And I encourage you to come on out and visit the What is Love exhibit, and wander back and visit an old friend at Bradley Museum, and come back out into the community, and visit us again. So with that, thank you for joining us and spending some time with us here at Ask a Historian.
Thanks.